Have you ever wondered why so many people prefer diet sodas over regular ones? It could be because they're a little bit healthier, or maybe because they can sometimes taste sweeter. But how can something with no sugar in it both taste sweeter and be healthier? My name's Morgan, and today my partners Taylor Mason and I are going to be talking about artificial sweeteners and the chemistry behind them. Before we get into the chemistry behind them, let's talk about the uses and some of the benefits that artificial sweeteners can provide. They're basically just a replacement for regular sugar, which is table sugar, and they can be found in many different foods and beverages. The image to the right on the top shows a couple examples, and those include like Gatorade Zero, diet sodas, or foods that are labeled no sugar added or no sugar. They're able to make foods and beverages taste sweet, and sometimes they can be even sweeter than regular sugar is. Some of the health benefits that come along with it are that they have less calories, and some even have none at all. This is great for people that are trying to lose weight or manage theirs. They can also help decrease sugar intake, of course, which in turn then helps control blood sugar levels. Another thing also is just that they're better for your overall oral health, and this is because they don't contribute to cavities the same way that regular table sugar does. Now let's talk about sugar. Sugars are carbohydrate, but there are many different sugars, so it's basically just an umbrella term for all the ones that fall under it. However, in this case, we're talking about sucrose, which is white table sugar. On the image to the right, you can see sucrose, and it contains 1 unit of glucose and 1 unit of fructose, which means that it's a disaccharide. When consumed, sugar molecules interact with the sweet receptors that are on our tongue. There's many hydroxyl groups, which are the OHs in the picture, and they help sugar bind to the receptors. There's also hydrogen bonding, which helps with the interaction, and this is due to the amount of hydroxyl groups that are in sucrose. But basically, the brain reads those signals and is able to tell how sweet something is and the intensity of it. There's many different sugar substitutes. They can be natural or artificial. However, in this case, we're talking about artificial ones. They're used to replace the taste of sugar because society was tired of experiencing the negative effects of sugar, and they wanted to keep the taste of it. There's many different sweeteners as well, and they all have different structures, which means that they behave differently. As we learned in the sugar lab in class, no matter how small the change in the structure or formula, it'll change the taste of something. And so that's the case here. All the sweeteners taste different. This also means that the taste of sugar can't be exactly replicated. The three artificial sweeteners we decided to focus on are aspartame, saccharin, and sucralose. In the center, you can see their chemical formulas, and they don't look too different as they have almost all the same chemical elements. However, when you do look on the right at their structures, they look vastly different. And this again just emphasizes how small changes in chemical formulas can really change how something tastes.
Why they taste sweet. To first understand why artificial sweeteners taste sweet, it is important to understand that sugar and sweetness are not the same thing. Things can be sweet without containing sugar. We all have these things called so we all have these things called sweet taste receptors that have to be activated by sweet ligands in order to send a message to our brain that we are eating something sweet. So artificial sweeteners like the ones we've mentioned before can also act as sweet ligands to activate our sweet taste receptors. The chemistry behind it. There's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes when you drink a Diet Coke and taste the sweetness from it. When the liquid from the sweet drink first enters your mouth, it attaches to a sweet taste receptor. This activates a G protein that's called alpha-gusticin. Alpha-gusticin then activates the enzyme phospholipase C beta 2. This enzyme releases calcium ions that then trigger a chain reaction that leads to release of ATP. The ATP stimulates nearby sensory neurons, which send signals that the brain interprets as sweetness from the thing you just consumed. Oops. As for the calories associated with these artificial sweeteners are famously known for being a low-calorie substitute for sugar. For example, aspartame only has 4 calories for every 1 packet of sweetener. Many sweeteners don't have any calories at all, and this is compared to sugar, which per packet can have anywhere from 16 to 48 calories, and that depends on the type of sugar in the packet.
So, a little bit more about aspartame. Aspartame is an artificial sweetener and it does contain calories, but it's 200 times sweeter than table sugar, so you don't need to use much of it. It's made of two amino acids, aspartic acid and methyl ester of phenylalanine. The reason that aspartame is considered artificial is because the two amino acids must be fused together in a chemical reaction, which we've learned about in class, and it's found in many diet sodas, candies, and others as an alternative to sugar. There are also other artificial sweetener compounds like saccharin, sucralose, neotame, and a few others, and these artificial sweeteners were developed in the 1970s to 1990s and have all been approved by the FDA for use in the US today. However, since the development of aspartame, there have been questions about its effects on our health and possible links to cancer, which has led to lots of research. However, there are conflicting and inconclusive results. The only confirmed side effect of aspartame is the exacerbation of a rare genetic disorder called phenylketonuria. Although it's completely safe for consumption, it's recommended to consume in moderation, like most things. So now we can also go over two other artificial sweeteners, sucralose and saccharin. Sucralose is also known as the brand name Splenda, and saccharin brand names include Sweet and Low, Sweet Twin, and Nectasweet. Sucralose is about 600 times sweeter than table sugar, and saccharin is about 200 to 7 times sweeter than table sugar and contains no calories. Sucralose is heat stable, meaning it stays sweet even through high temperatures, making it a good artificial sweetener for baking. Saccharin was originally linked to bladder cancer in a 1970 studies on lab rats, but since then, new studies have found that the results found in the rats were irrelevant to humans. Overall, artificial sweeteners play a role in many people's diets, especially people seeking alternatives to sugar. While they provide benefits like fewer calories, reduced sugar intake, and better dental health, they also come with ongoing questions about long term health effects. We learned in class that sweetness doesn't come from sugar itself, but from how molecules interact with our taste receptors. And even small changes in chemical structure can completely change how something tastes, which is why artificial sweeteners can be much sweeter than sugar without actually containing it. Artificial sweeteners can be a good alternative when consumed in moderation, but understanding the science behind them helps us make more informed choices about what we consume. Thank you for listening.